Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I want to indicate at the onset that some of the issues that we are raising here for some people may sound like abstract ideas. I joined Parliament during or immediately after the post-election violence. Madam Speaker, I was part of a humanitarian committee for my party, Odhiambo, that documented cases of post-election violence. Madam Speaker, I remember documenting cases of young girls in school uniform who had been shot by the police. I remember a woman who had the husband's head decapitated and had to carry the head to Kisumu. Madam Speaker, I remember people from Kisii who were displaced. Madam Speaker, I remember people who are from central Kenya but in the diaspora who were displaced. We went to a specific camp where people were all displaced, but they were in different camps. There was a camp that had predominantly the Kikuyus, and then there was a camp that had the Luos, Luyas, and the Kisis. They were all with the same problem, but for ethnic reasons, they had been balkanized. Madam Speaker, I know that the country is in a mood for politicking. And you know, and the tragedy in Kenya is we start politicking a day after elections. And for a stranger who would be visiting Kenya, you would actually think that the presidential elections are in 2 days' time. Madam Speaker, there's nothing wrong with that because Kenya is a fairly democratic country. But it is extremely unfortunate, Madam Speaker, if we can use language that would incite ethnic animosity and ethnic violence, that would create the kind of violence that we saw. Madam Speaker, the people who suffer in situations like that are women and children. Many women were raped and to date have not been compensated. Many children were killed. Madam Speaker, there's a young girl who has written a book which she gave to me, Madam Speaker. And in her book, she has documented that there were young children who were playing somewhere in the Rift Valley. And they were neighbors of all tribes. And her book is called Hop, Skip, and Jump. She was called Scholastica somebody. Madam Speaker, she documents how she changed from being an innocent child to looking at her neighbors from a tribal lens. She was raped, she underwent violation, and she lost her childhood. Madam Speaker, there are things we cannot afford to joke with or play with. Madam Speaker, I would want to encourage the Deputy President, former Deputy President, that I know is feeling very bitter at the way things stand around. Madam Speaker, he feels that he actually fought and brought this government into power. And I'm sure it can feel very bad when you feel that you brought the government into power, and now you are the one who is outside watching from view, Sasa. Madam Speaker, the way to go about it is not through bitterness and anger, because there's a point that leadership becomes beyond you. I know he's only served one term in Parliament, so he may not understand. And half a term as a Deputy President. But Speaker, there is always opportunities. Let him relax because he says he's a man of God, or at least he says his wife Dorcas is a woman of God. Let them appeal to God and use their godly words to bring unity to the country. There are things we don't joke about around with, Madam Speaker. There are things we don't politic around with. And one of them is the peace and security of this country. In terms of sharing and having views and going around and talking to people, that's all very well. Kenya is a democratic country. But let's not ever dream about what happened in 2008. I know it was not in this Parliament, but some of us who are here went through post-traumatic stress disorder. And with those few remarks, I beg that we change our language.
Honorable Millie, member for Tinderet.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to also support the motion. That our country went through a lot of upheavals in 2007 is something that we all know. We saw over 1,000 people lost their lives, Madam Speaker. Thousands lost their properties across major cities in this country. The economic upheaval that came out of that election was as a result of anger, was a result of talks that actually incited communities against one another as a result of elections, purported elections stealing. Madam Speaker, I just want to say this, that as much as leaders, we want positions, as much as we want to have certain positions in society, we should always know that we do not get those positions at the expense of the peace and tranquility of our country. The late Vice President, Professor George Saitoti, did say that there is a time when a country is greater than ourselves. And I want all the leaders within, and I think the former Deputy President needs to know that. As said earlier on by the Deputy Party Whip, he must be a very bitter person. He must know that as much as we are bitter, as much as he's feeling sad, as much as he has been out of power, he should know that this country, called Kenya, will live beyond him. This country will outlive all of us. This country, we have a responsibility as current leaders to hand it over to the next generation. Madam Speaker, I just want to ask the National Cohesion, the CEO, that he needs to take action against individuals who have committed crimes that are actually inciting Kenyans against one another. A case in point, and I think this has been said, is when a number of members in this House, last Parliament, made utterances, and most of them were arrested, they were taken before courts, and they answered to their charges. This is not victimization. It is actually trying to bring order to this country, trying to tell leaders that they are supposed to talk responsibly. As much as you want positions in power, you know that you have a country to carry on. Our former Deputy President knows very well that after serving 5, 10 years, for example, a leader will have to vacate office. The retired president is now in retirement, enjoying peace, enjoying tranquility. It is not proper for him to say that if he cannot get the position, then he has to ban the whole country, ban the people, bring the people down. It is quite immoral, it was wrong, it is illegal. 2, elections, Honorable Speaker, we have election disputes all over. We have the court system, from all the way from the High Court to the Supreme Court. And we know very well that there are timelines to solve cases. The Right Honorable Prime Minister has lost several cases. And it's very honorable enough for him that he has not banned this country. And is one of the longest people to have run for elections in this country. And I want to advise members, and even our colleagues in the House, that the fact that we are actually admonishing wrong talks, trying to ask leaders to speak the right way, is not that we are against the individual. We are telling him his utterances are wrong. He is a Kenyan like any other. He's supposed to make sure that what he utters, what he says, and what he preaches, even the issue of assisting through the Harambee system for the women and for all that, all those things we do in our society, and it has really assisted our member society. So I rise to support, and I want to say that actually the actions of the Deputy President were not right. I support the motion. Thank you.
Former Deputy President.
Former Deputy President, thank you.
The Honorable